want to start?
Well, I think I was about as surprised as most of the people. I had no visions of it being quite that way. I thought it was a well-played game on our standpoint. We had a lot of breaks, made some things happen, and took advantage of most opportunities.
Steve Pallur had to play well. I think you said this going in, that you felt that Steve Pallur had to get off on the right foot. Offensive line did too, and they did in that ball game.
I think the final evaluation of the offensive line would prove to have been a pretty good day for most all of them. Steve, as we mentioned, is the leader of the offense. He's the one with the most experience, and we've got to get good quarterback play from Steve Pallur, and he's got the ability and the experience, and I just think he can continue to do that.
Now, Northwestern maybe not quite as good as some people thought they would be.
Well, it's really hard to predict this early in the season. They've got a lot of players back, and they were very competitive in a lot of games last year, won 3, and it's hard, I think, this early in the season to just say anyone's got a good team or anyone's got a bad team. I think we're going to have to play more. We'll bring in now the psychology of the game. After a team plays good, can they play good next week? A team plays poorly, can they bounce back? And so, we've got a few more weeks before we really know about our team.
I would think your football team lost a little weight yesterday. It was so hot on that field, you can't believe it. Had to be well over 100 degrees.
Well, it was warm, and that was the thing that satisfied me, is that our players really went out and worked hard. Medical staff said that they had over 100 gallons of water that they gave to the players, and that was the key thing, is replace the fluids and try to stay away from the cramping of muscles that you can get from a dehydration.
Well, you had to go after Schwab, their quarterback, and your defense, I thought, played very well.
Well, we were trying to do it out of a 4-man rush. We didn't think that we could go in with a blitz scheme and put our secondary in man-to-man coverage and have a lot of success. So I think this is a real credit to the front people. The Ronnie Holmes and Madsen and Browning and Garnett, some of those youngsters who came in. Both outside linebackers were involved, Stuart Hill and Fred Small. So I think this is the thing that really helped the secondary. They could sit back, they could get in their zones and read the flight of the ball and get a good jump on it.
Impressive opening game win for a young Husky football team. We'll be back with the opening kickoff right after this.
We wanted to win. We wanted our kickers and our young players to have any advantage we could get the first quarter.
You did kick it out of the end zone. Here comes Sandy Schwab rolling to the outside. First pass, throws it to his fullback. Knocked out of bounds after picking up about 3.
Play action pass, and Vince Albritton, strong safety, read it very well, kept it to a 3-yard gain.
They try to run here. Browning makes fine defensive play.
Yes, this is a toss sweep for -2, and Browning, Kelly, and Meehan were all in on the tackle. And it was another very good defensive play for us.
3rd down for Northwestern, 91 degrees, I think, at game time, and you can't believe how hot it was down on the tartan turf. Throwing to the outside just misses the pass.
They were trying to sprint out and throw a backfield flood pass. In other words, they'd taken their tight end trying to pick our linebacker that had the coverage. Fortunately, they didn't get execution.
Kid's a pretty good kicker. You went after him early.
Yes, we put in a new punt rush and went right after him first play. There was a penalty on them. They did not give Danny Green the required 2-yard rule, so he made a tough catch there, and we get a big 15-yard penalty.
So the Huskies take it over. 1st and 10 right at midfield, about 45 actually. Sterling Hines, a little pitch to the outside and nothing.
Well, their outside linebacker stepped inside our tight end, and we just fanned him. So they got upfield, got penetration, and just killed the play.
So 2nd and 16 now for Washington. And Walt Hunt, he had himself quite a day.
Walt has really worked hard. He's been in the program now. He's a junior, and by class, I think he was the youngest player starting on the offense. But as you mentioned, had a good day. Picks up 3 here.
3rd and 13 at the 47 for Washington. Huskies trying to move the ball for the first time against Northwestern. Steve Pallur, plenty of time, and throws a beauty.
And an excellent catch by Danny Green. And this is the thing that, for those young receivers to replace the quality of the guys we had in the past, they've got to stretch out and make some of these plays, and Danny Green gets a good one. This 17-yard gain. Steve, on a play-action pass, has got very good protection.
Great concentration by Green, too. Yes. He picks up 17 on the play. The Huskies have it 1st and 10 now at the 30. They lose 5 on a penalty. Pallur comes right back and throws another beauty to Stransky.
This is a bootleg type. We call it a waggle, which is waggle and bootleg are very similar in terms. We fake inside, and their cornerback was worrying about tight end in the flat, and the out route by David Stransky was about 18, 20 yards deep and was wide open.
Stransky had himself a big day, too. Hines in motion. Handoff inside to Walt Hunt. On the play, he's going to pick up 5 on it. 2nd and 5 now at the 10. You're on the move.
Yeah, right behind Mallory, Ernestine, and Brosey, and very solid blocks. And this is a big play. We've talked so many times about being in 4-down territory and coming up with a first down play like that just is an excellent job by the offense. Hines comes back with 2 yards. We'd like to get a little bit more on this one, but we've still got 2 downs to make 3 yards.
Okay, 3rd and 3 at the 8. You surprised some people by throwing, I think, to the outside here.
Well, you know, we've got this in, and it's a new part of our package. We've worked a lot on it. We didn't run it a lot, but you know, they just didn't cover the. We had a quick turn in, and we had a motion out there, man in motion and flat, and Steve did a good job of reading the cornerback.
So 1st and goal for Washington at the 2 after Hines is knocked out of bounds. Inside, good blocking on the right side, and Sterling Hines goes in to score. You'll see it again.
Yes, Sterling, you know, had to beat one man right here. He's got a good hole, and it's a counter play. But he's got Brosey and he's got Mallory working. He's got Maher, some good blocking, as well as Dodson.
Jager, the freshman, in to kick, and he just drills it home. You'll see him kick one so far out of the end zone you won't believe in a minute. 10:51 to play in the 1st quarter. Huskies lead it by a score of 7-0 over Northwestern, Evanston, Illinois yesterday. Look at this kick. Goes 30 yards beyond the end line.
I kicked it down in that wagon of balloons. I thought I was going to kick it in the pavilion.
Northwestern takes over now. 1st and 10 on their own 20. A little penalty sets them back to the 15. Edwards picks up only a yard on the play.
Madsen and Hill on the tackle, and it's kind of a toss isolation play. We were looking for a play action off that. Now you can see Ronnie Holmes get to work right away. He just beat his man and put good pressure on Schwab.
Schwab's a good passer. I mean, his statistics coming into the game, you know, excellent. 2,700 yards, 14 touchdowns. Back to throw again. Good rush. Ronnie Holmes right there.
So how good you are, you can't throw if there's a lineman in your face. There's no way, and there's Ronnie Holmes again. Got another shot of this.
With the right side of your screen, you'll see Holmes, number 90, just coming in. And he's so quick.
And Schwab has no opportunity to go to the 2nd or 3rd receiver. You know, he goes to number 1. If he's covered, you know, it's a sack.
Following a penalty, they have to kick deep out of their own end zone. And Kidd, a 47-yarder. Danny Green's going to take it. And just a step away, he might have picked up a little bit. They covered it pretty well, though.
Yes, we've got good field position. We didn't get much out of our punting game or punt return team, but the big thing is we didn't have a lot of mistakes on the punt return game. So.
1st and 10, 45. That's Sterling Hines to the outside. You do some different things, as you mentioned off the start of the show this year. Different looks, different formations.
Yeah, we're trying to confuse them a little bit. Give them a lot of one-back set. Now that, you know, we talked so much about the Washington Redskins and their Super Bowl championship. There was another one-back set right there with tailback in motion.
And you'll see that all year long.
Yeah, I think you will. I think you'll not only see it by us, you'll see it by a lot of other people.
That's the new look in college football, isn't it? 3rd and 1 now. Steve Fuller just going to dive ahead for a couple of yards. Pick up the first down.
Steve behind wedge blocking, and there's no question there. He's got the first.
1st and 10 at the 44. There were a couple of calls in the ball game, though, that I wasn't sure about.
Well, there was some that we had to come back and look at the official judgment. It happens every game. Now, there's a good quick out route by Danny Green.
He picks up 7 on the play, moves it down to Northwestern 37. 2nd and 3 at that point. Stransky in motion. And a single back.
This is a real questionable situation here. It's one that we discussed with the officials on the field. They critiqued it at halftime. They call us for blocking low. Now the key is, you know, the width of the slot back, and we were only split 3 or 4 yards, so it was a legal block that was called illegal. We come back with another bootleg type play, and Steve does a great job of getting 16 yards back. We knocked down contain. Actually, Walt Hunt had a key block out there. Now Steve's got an opportunity to stand there and throw or to run, and he wisely just goes to the corner, and so
he's a little quicker than you think he is. I mean, he's 6'4", weighs 210. He's big.
And he's a long strider, and sometimes, you know, players get lulled to sleep a little bit. They think, well, that guy's not very fast, but he covers a lot of ground.
3rd and 2. That's Hines for 7 yards in the first down, down at the 29.
It's four good blocks on that. Lutu and Dotson, Hunt and Mallory all had good hits on that play.
Great catch by Lutu.
Yeah, this was a tight end middle hook, and we run a lot. Leroy led red man coverage. He's supposed to go in and come back, but it wasn't. It was zone, and so we were fortunate to come up with that catch.
One-hand grab by Lutu. He injured the knee. We'll talk about that in a minute. 2nd and 3. Hines goes for 4.
Off tackle behind Lutu and Hunt. Again, a good first or 4-yard gain down there. It's just like a big play.
1st and 10 now at the 18. Puller throwing to the outside to Walt Hunt. And he's finally run out of bounds all the way down at the 5. Good play.
Yeah, he was not the primary receiver, but Steve recognized when he put him in motion, no one covered him. And
there was just nobody sliding out there with him.
He's got him wide open. They tried to, you know, cornerback came out late, but that's another 13-yard gain, and it's really a defensive error.
So now it is first down goal to go at the 5. Puller just keeps it.
Yeah, this
run
is
to
an
the
option
outside and
play.
score.
You know, we don't run a lot of options, but everybody, you know, we've talked about it so many times. Fake the dive and go out, and we man block it. So the tight end had a good block. You see, Michaels had his man blocked off line of scrimmage, so you know they had no chance.
Jaeger comes in, adds the extra point, and all at once it is 14-0, just like that for the Huskies, and you're playing very, very well in the ball game.
Well, that's what the wind can do for you. You know, you play into it, you play good. You know, we got another kickoff out of the end zone, so we're going to have good field position, and they've got to go into the wind on their own 20, 80 yards to go for a drive, and it's tough.
The Husky defensive unit, however, comes up with a great play right here. We get near the end of the first quarter. Watch this. Good rush. Jaeger trying to run with the ball, and what a hit by Stuart Hill.
I don't think that
I said Jaeger.
Schwab saw him. He was running, and Stewart was kind of out in the corner there. You can see him. He's flushed out of the pocket. Here comes Ronnie Holmes again. And you know,
I don't think he saw him
he's
either.
Looking downfield. And whoa, Stewart's really put a hit on it.
It's just right there.
So you see his helmet right on the ball, and Ron Holmes there for a big play. Two big plays right there. Caused fumble recovered.
You dominate the first quarter. Play very, very well. Lead it by a score of...
And Steve Ford got off to a good start, and that helped.
Yeah, you worried maybe that you'd run out of energy and that heat down there before that, because here you put a couple of scoreboard on the scoreboard, and your offense is out in the field for a long time, but that heat's going to work on you a little bit.
It's amazing how you know, they say, well, the defense is on the field too long and they get tired. Well, the offense is out there just as long, but emotionally, you know, if you're moving the ball, you feel good about it, and you don't get quite as tired as you are if you're on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So our offense, you know, felt good about the way they were moving the ball, and our defense, you know, had a very, very limited number of plays the first quarter.
Had to be some smiles on the Washington bench at the end of the first quarter. We'll come back with the second quarter action right after this.
And that's what it takes to get 28-yard games. Just a lot of people out there getting defensive players on the ground, and like I say, there's one guy right here who's got to make this play, or Sterling's gone.
And he is gone for a touchdown, but he picks up 28 on the play. 1st and 10 for Washington at the 48. Pallor, a little screen pass to the outside.
And Northwestern plays it very well. We were fortunate to get back to line of scrimmage. Probably we did gain a yard.
So it's 2nd and 9 at the 49. Hunt on a draw. He runs hard again.
He picks up 11. It's another trap play, and the umpire gets an assist on a tackle. Got ran over. Rosie and Ernest, good blocks.
Here comes Walt Hunt again.
Second effort run there for 5-6 yards.
You have to be pleased with what he did.
You know, I'm pleased with all of them. You know, with the graduation loss of Chris James, and you know, have our fullbacks come through, and they had a tough time in the spring. Here's a quick pass out to David Stransky, 6 yards from Steve Pallor.
He gets a first down. 1st and 10 now at the Northwestern 29. Huskies on the move again. Hines over the left side. They close that in a hurry, though.
This is a draw play, and this is the one play they probably did the best job on. It's been one of the features of our offense, and I think Northwestern probably took that play away more than the other play. 2nd
and 10. Pallor to Patterson over the middle for 12.
Well, good play by Mark Patterson. That's a post route. Good throw by Steve.
So now 1st and 10 at the 17. Hines picks up only 3. Drive it straight ahead.
Off tackle play by Sterling, and
now here he almost had this one almost picked off.
Yeah, they're weak outside linebackers that'll pick that one off, and that's you know, it's one of Steve's limited number of mistakes, but it's he got away with it, and that's, you know, you got to get a little lucky sometimes too, you know.
Offside penalty moves the ball to the 9. 3rd and 2 at the 9. Hines going to be short of the first down. They close that off too in a hurry.
Yeah, this was probably you know, there was enough there to get 2 yards, and Sterling just needs a little more work, and I think he'll be able to get that when he ran right into our own blocker.
Jaeger, the field goal attempt. This one is good. 26 yards out, and Washington leads by a score of 17-0. And Jaeger had missed one earlier, and did that give you some concern?
Well, you know, Jeff needed to come back and get one. That's the key. Now, this is an amazing thing. He kicked that ball into the wind, and in a 16-mile-an-hour wind, headed up in the air 4.5 seconds, which is excellent. You know, there's no way they should not have gotten the ball out to 25. But he gave our coverage people a chance.
Defense playing well here again.
Scott Garnett. Scott's in there, and get Ronnie Holmes. Scott right there for a 5-yard loss on the other side.
Having Scott Garnett back really makes a difference in the defense. Gives some depth.
You can just see the size of his arms. He's so strong, and he can run good. He's got good quickness.
Schwab back to throw. Big rush again. Tries to throw a little screen, and with that kind of rush on, difficult to get that screen.
He had to drop it in, and you know, he had to throw over Scott Garnett.
So here comes Northwestern again, running to the outside. Now that's Garnett after him. This is a great catch by Coates in the sideline. I can't believe that.
Yeah, we got it pretty well covered. You know, Vesti Jackson's there, but we did lose a little bit of contain. You know, the quarterback's outside. See, if we can contain the play better, Scott Garnett's got it.
Vince Albritton right there. And Vesti Jackson, and the guy just makes a great catch.
It was an excellent catch. You've got to give him credit.
27 is Jackson trying to knock it away, and it was just a good catch. They pick up the first down. Schwab running to the outside again, throwing, and Albritton, I thought, had that one.
Yeah, he had both hands on it, and that's one thing we try to teach our defenders, or any receiver, is you catch the ball or get it down. You don't let it go through.
And Coach caught the ball, which is just amazing.
Stay with it. It was a tip.
That's Edwards to the outside for only 3. Kelly, number 36, leading the charge for Washington.
There are about 6 Huskies on the tackle there. Good gang tackling. Garnett, Jackson, along with Kelly and others.
2nd and 7. Schwab throwing, going to be intercepted by Leapart.
Well, Schwab made a mistake here. He read a crash, and it was from the outside, and he assumed it was a strong safety crash, which means that the middle is wide open. It wasn't a strong safety crash. We left Leapart back there, so you know, he was going to his post route, which everybody likes to throw in that case, but it was just a misread by the quarterback.
Breno DeFeo in a ball game for the first time. Gets 2. He's in at fullback for Walt Hunt. 2nd and 8 now at the 41. Cookie Jackson tries to gets a couple of yards.
Repeated that trap play again, and so we go off tackle, we run a trap, and we get a 3rd and 7.
You run a lot of traps in this game.
Yes.
3rd and 7 at the 42. Pallur throws a strike to Stransky.
This you know, play action pass, and Steve just does a good job in finding the seam. He's got a couple of options here.
Now look at that offensive line work. They give him time to throw the football. What a difference that makes.
And that's amazing that they get that much time and fool somebody on the 3rd and long. You know, usually, you know, defenders will lay back their ears and really come on.
They're going to come after you right then. 1st and 10 at the 39. Pallur looking. Throws that one a little bit high.
Got a screen pass, and they had a man on it. You know, you've got to catch him in the zone. If you catch him in man, they'll run out there right with it like they did there.
Pallur again. As the Huskies try to get on the scoreboard again. Oh, he throws another good pass. Larry Michael makes a good catch.
Yeah, Larry has got very good hands. You know, he's a good tight end. He's going to really make a great contribution to the team. But that's not only a good catch. That's 19 yards. That's about like 2 first downs.
So 1st and 10 for Washington now at the 20. Lobs it. Has to go to the end zone just a little too far.
And we've got to keep doing this. We've got to go deep on people. But we did have movement by left tackle.
Almost ran over our television crew down there in a corner on that play. John Larsgaard. Shot over the middle. This time it is complete for 5 yards to Green.
It's the middle hook, and if it's a zone coverage, it's pretty easy throwing a catch.
Pallur zips it again. Good catch there, this time by Green for 3 more. It was Michael who made the catch before.
Yeah, this was a delayed route, and there was just so much underneath coverage that Danny didn't have any place to go.
3rd and 12. Still looking. Good rush.
Good play here by Larry Michaels again. And he comes out of it, and he needs to make some yards. He doesn't get them all, but he gets
A penalty drives
11.
you back. He gets 11. Penalty drives you back.
Downfield blocking, we had people going to the ball, but we had some sloppy hands. And it was a good call by the official.
So that sets up the field goal. Jaeger, who is the freshman, comes in. He will kick the field goal and put the Huskies on the scoreboard again. And it makes it look easy. He's got such a strong leg. Washington leads by a score of 20-0, as you see right there. And it's good to have a young kid like that come in, who a lot of pressure on him, replacing a Chuck Nelson. He gets a couple of first-half field goals.
Well, and that's all part of the scheme of things. You know, the young players have got to get some games under their belt, get some experience, because someday he's going to have to make that kick with a lot of pressure and maybe the game riding on it. So, you know, to our advantage, it really worked out well.
What you feeling now as you go off the field at halftime? Leading 20-0, in control of the game, absolutely.
Well, there's still the heat factor, and we have to think in terms at halftime of substitution problems and how we're going to roll players and try to keep people rested. We're also playing a passing team, and we all know that a passing team can get hot, and you're going to have a long afternoon.
But the second half starts, you're going to give them the football again.
Well, now it's, we deferred the choice, so we've got our choice. We felt like with the advantages of the win that we'd play the third quarter with the win, thinking in terms of if we can score again, it would really put a lot of pressure on them.
Almost comes back to get you, though. They almost score. We've got a special feature coming up here at halftime, and in just a moment that I think you're going to enjoy. And we'll be back with that, the second half action, right after this.
The weather's closing in. The road's getting worse. That's when you want the performance of...
Husky fans are really going to get a kick out of. It is called Where Are They Now? Where are all those old Husky All-Americans? And this Sunday, well, we look back to 1950. In 1950, the football cry at Washington was hurry and Hugh and Heinrich too, as Hugh McElhaney and Don Heinrich were the two big names the Huskies were building around. But there was a sophomore from Gonzaga High School in Spokane that would make his name known before that 1950 season was over. Dick Sprague was listed as a defensive back and the second-string fullback behind McElhaney when the season got underway. Sprague, who was referred to as a brilliant student and a tricky runner by at least one writer, was an all-around athlete at Washington and was a member of the basketball and track teams. But it was as a defensive back that most Husky fans remember him. And it was Dick Sprague, number 39's performance in this UCLA game in 1950 that he feels won him All-American honors. He made 3 key stops in the Huskies' 21-20 win over UCLA, with one of them coming at the goal line. And when the season was over, Dick Sprague had been named to the Look All-American team selected by Grantland Rice and the Football Writers Association. Dick Sprague is now a successful attorney with Bogle & Gates, one of the largest law firms in Seattle. But Dick still looks back on his football days at Washington with fond memories.
I think the lessons I've learned from playing on the college football level particularly, but even in high school, are lessons that will stand anyone in good stead. And I don't care what activity they follow after, because there's a lot of good lessons to be learned. And I've talked with young people about this a lot. They're the types of things just in terms of perseverance and determination and how you handle loss, because we all have it during our lifetimes. Those are very important lessons.
There is one game that Dick Sprague will always remember along with the UCLA game, and that's the 1950 Washington State game when the Huskies gave up a touchdown so Don Heinrich could set a national collegiate completion record.
Interesting. We were fortunate enough to be quite a ways ahead. And it was within the last minute of the game. There was only a few seconds left, and Washington State had the ball inside our 40-yard line, and there was no timeout taken, and a substitute came in, Clyde Seiler, who played the substitute defensive tackle for us, and he said, let him score, let him score. And you know, everybody looked around, just confusing as all get out, and they were about ready to snap the ball. And he said, Heinrich only has one more pass for a national record, and so on. And we were still confused, and they snapped the ball, and then began to dawn on us what was involved. And the end, Don Steinbrenner, I knew very well, played in the All-State high school football game with him, came out right in front of me, and I stood there and watched him, and they threw the ball to him, and I just backed up into the end zone and let him run in. It was all for the purpose of getting the ball as quickly as we could to give Heinrich the opportunity to complete a pass. They kicked off, Kirkby ran it right out of bounds, and Heinrich completed 2 passes in a row, and then to run out the clock, pitched it out on an end run to McElhaney, and McElhaney ran 58 yards for another touchdown. So it was something, and that has been a real cause with Washington State, and I've heard coaches over there and players say, oh, no one ever gave us a touchdown, and yet I was the one that actually wound up doing it.
But despite having 3 All-Americans on their team during the early 1950s, the University of Washington Huskies still didn't win a trip to the Rose Bowl.
And we missed the Rose Bowl by that one touchdown against California in those days.
You still think about that one?
You bet. It's always brought up to us. And if you could put it down to one player, and you really could, playing California in those days, it was Les Richter, that linebacker. He was such a marvelous football player, and the kind of player that could dominate a game all by himself. He not only did it to us that year by tackling Heinrich for a loss right down there in the 1 or 2 yard line, but I think the next year, playing down in Berkeley, he kicked a 35-yard field goal with less than a minute to go and beat us that time too. So he was something else.
Dick Sprague was drafted with the Chicago Cardinals when he graduated in 1952, but he had an opportunity to attend graduate school at Harvard, where he became an assistant football coach and in fact coached Ted Kennedy. So he turned down the pros for a career in law, and he says he's never really regretted it.
I could have played professional football too, but I mentioned in those days I was drafted by the then Chicago Cardinals, now St. Louis Cardinals, but the amount of money they were paying defensive backs in those days isn't anywhere near what it is now. And it would have meant having to break up the law school end of it, and frankly the reasonable thing to do is to go forward and get my law school education, which I did.
I imagine every once in a while you think, I wonder what would have happened if I'd have played in the pros.
Oh yeah, certainly you do. And if you didn't have to make these career choices, obviously it's something that I know I would have liked to have tried. And of course, others with whom I played, McElhaney and Heinrich particularly, did and had fine careers on the professional level.
Dick now plays handball twice a week with his brother Tom, who also played football at Washington, to stay in shape, and also takes an active role in promoting University of Washington athletics. He's been chairman of the Tyee Board, president of the Big W, and Alumni Association. So obviously, being recognized as a football All-American has been very important to him.
Well, it's been a source of real satisfaction, there's no question about it, Bruce, and it works both ways, although I wouldn't give it up for anything, I can tell you that. But I've had, being in the legal profession, and frankly, and there still is the element amongst some people that consider that, well, if you're a football player, you certainly couldn't have been much of a whiz at the books. So you can get that aspect too, and being able to do both has meant a great deal to me and a lot of personal satisfaction. I tell a story of one time I had a professor who was a woman and teaching an English course, and during the middle of the football season she called me in and she said, my goodness, I've received this card from the athletic department telling me that you're a football player and they want to know how you're doing in your class and to let them know. And she said, and she was very serious, I just can't believe it. She said, I don't understand this. You're getting an A in this course. And to her, it was impossible to be a football player and getting an A in the course.
You proved something.
Yeah, I think so. At least to myself, anyway.
Husky All-American Dick Sprague from 1950. Next week, think of this name. We'll go back and visit with Don Heinrich. You remember those times, don't you, Don? When were you in 1950?
I was a freshman in college, 17-year-old freshman.
That film looks old, though. Hard to believe, isn't it?
Well, there have been a few seasons played since those films were taken.
Let's talk about Northwestern. Let's get back to the game right now. Halftime, you're in the locker room. What do you do to sort of cool down your team a little bit because of all that heat?
Well, we take the shoulder pads off and change T-shirts. All the T-shirts were soaking wet. In a lot of players, we ice down towels and we try to take the body temperature down with ice towels. But from a coaching standpoint, defense, we were trying to figure out a way to stop their sprint out. They were trying to get some sprint game going and run Schwab to the outside. So we made a couple of defensive adjustments. Offensively, again, it was just a matter of taking the game plan, boil it down, and try to figure out a few things we could do.
And you want to get the wind at your back, let them get the football, try to stop it and get it in the end zone.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be back with the second half kickoff right after this. Pickup action now at the start of the third quarter, and Jaeger kicking the ball away. The freshman drives it out of the end zone again, and Don, you get your wish. Out of the end zone, they're going to have to put it in play on their own 20. Now, what adjustments, and what did they do differently? Because they moved the ball pretty well on you right here.
Trying to get to the short passing. There's a quick out there, but they'll really do a lot of dumping off and flares. Jaeger's kick, incidentally, was after a 5-yard penalty. He still kicked it out of the end zone. See, there's a play-action pass, and just trying to hit a little quickie out in the flat.
Now, 3rd and 10 at the 20. Okay, a couple of interesting calls here. Watch this one. Okay, he'll throw it to the outside. Question is, did he get the first down at the 30? You think he made it to the 30? That looks like a first down.
I think he's got it to the 31-yard line.
I do, too. Now, they moved the ball back to the 29. Now, do you think the quarterback made a first down? Did he get over the 30?
I don't think any close. I went close. I was standing on the line of scrimmage, and you know, he did not. He deserved the first down, but he didn't deserve it when they got it.
That's right. But he did get the first down eventually. Interesting couple of calls.
Real good hits there. This is a little flare route, and they got 9 yards on this route just 2 plays earlier. But Albritton, Amber, and Pearson hold it to 3 yards this time, and this is really better reaction.
Okay, flipping it to the outside, there's a pass that is complete.
And we get a late hit. We're in an underneath double coverage, and so they complete the pass, and then, of course, you know, Fred just didn't realize he was down. You can't hit him. You don't have to have a whistle.
That's right.
Good play on the off tackle by Meamber.
Gains only 2. That's Edwards for 2. 2nd and 8 now, moving to Washington territory at the 35.
They're working everything off the same scheme. You know, split backs and, you know, faking, and now they come back. And they had a strong safety up there. Really worried about the off tackle and sweep, and they threw underneath him.
Gain of 12. First and 10 at the 23. Throwing again complete. This time to Harvey, only catch he made in the game.
And he was a great tight end. He scared us to death going in.
Yeah.
He gets a little banged up here, but we...
what did you do against him?
There, well, we worried about him, and I think sometimes when you prepare hard and really respect the player, you sometimes tend to take him away from him a little bit. Good coverage here. Schwab just throws it away.
So second and 10 now at the 11. Good defensive play coming up here by Madsen. Watch this. Ooh.
We've got a blitz which puts Lynn on an inside charge, and they just fan him. They do not touch him, and this is a defensive lineman loves this.
Just get me through there.
That's Lynn can run. He's got good quickness, and so that's an excellent play, and that helps us on the setting the field goal opportunity back a little bit in a minute.
Third and 13. 14. Now he was open if he could have hit it.
Yeah, we had double coverage, and both defenders took the inside move, and so they both thought he gave a good inside move. Vince Albritton was wide open there and probably pressured that kick a little bit. I thought he might block it.
Dubik hooks the ball, misses it to the left, as you saw right there. Crowd about, close to 30,000, disappointed because Northwestern doesn't get on the scoreboard. Huskies take over, first and 10 at the 20. Hines runs into a lot of people.
Yeah, they're really solid here. That's a very fine defensive play by Northwestern.
Second and 9 at the 21. Back to throw is Pallure, and again, great catch.
Yes, it was a bootleg pass, and again, type you see he's going to fake to Sterling Hines up the middle, and he's going to roll out. And it is a good catch by David Stransky.
Stransky had 5 catches in the ball game for Washington, just stretches out. He talked earlier about losing the 3 top receivers out of the top 5 in Washington history. You got some good ones.
Well, they've practiced well. They've looked good right from the start of spring practice last year. They looked like they could play. Here's a play-action pass where we really get the corner, and Steve just keeps it for 9 yards. But Stransky, Hines, Hunt all had their people on the ground. There's a block right there by Hunt. Now there's Sterling. Sterling's going to get a block. Now you'll see David Stransky out on the outside. He'll come back and pick off right there. And that block right there just saves Steve Pallure from getting hit, which is very critical.
So second and 1 at the 48. Walt Hunt, can he run? He just drags people.
Tough running, Rosie Dodson, Ernest, and Mallory all gave him a chance, and Walt just took off.
That 51 was Ernest, the center. He's over from guard to center, and he's a good one.
Come back with a trap. A Hunt for 3.
So it is now second and 7 for Washington, and Pallure running to the outside again.
Well, this was a bootleg again, and picks up 10. I'm not sure that we got a great spot on that ball. I think Steve's knee might have gone down 3 or 4 yards earlier. But this first game for the officials too. Sterling comes back with a toss sweep, and you'll see Mallory, Dennis Maher, DeFeo, Patterson all get good blocks. This is the replay now. You can see a double team. There's Brosey pulling. There's Patterson. He was in motion. You see him block the corner right here, and just getting a piece of him, being there makes it tough on him.
And Sterling Hines just puts on a burst of speed, and when he gets going with the speed he has, there's no way you're going to catch him.
He's kind of a powerful runner too for a 185-pounder. I think speed has a lot to do with that, but Sterling's got good balance, and he'll make people miss.
Jagger with the extra point. That is good, and all at once it is 27-0 in favor of Washington, and the Huskies playing very, very well. Northwestern now has the ball as we pick up action again following the kickoff, and Cummings runs for 3. They only got 7 yards rushing in the whole football game.
That's good. That's because of the sacks. More Holmes Madsen in on that one.
And you have to keep that in perspective sometimes. Throw over the middle, that's complete to Dixon. They're getting some other people in the game as well.
This is that was Joe Krakowski made it that. Well, that's the thing we were talking about, getting the quarterback outside. We don't like to see that. Good tackle there on the flare route by Albritton, plus, again, a lot of other Huskies.
Now, you played your defensive secondary most of the football game.
Yeah, we felt like they just needed to work. They're all young, and this is the kind of experience they needed, just throwing late in the game. And so we left them in, Krakowski and Moore on the tackle there. We're substituting linebackers and linemen in here.
Good hit on the left side.
Good defensive play. Garnett, Madsen, Krakowski.
And that's 3rd and 2, and you have to hold them on a play like this, and you'll see the right side of that defensive line just doesn't move.
Yeah, real solid. All 3 players, meet the point of attack.
So Kidd's going to have to kick it away. He kicks it away, kicks it for 39 yards, and all at once Huskies hold, and you're leading by a comfortable margin, and you're going into the 4th quarter, and you begin to have a chance now to think about playing a lot of players in the ball game.
Yes, defensively, you'd like to say let's get out of one more drive in the 4th quarter, and let's try not to have this reoccurrence of what we had with Stanford back here a few years ago, like 45-7. They come out and score 4 touchdowns. But we're starting to mix them up. We're getting a lot of players in.
We talked about the defensive secondary for just a second. Playing them for, you know, most of the game. You wanted just to get that good feeling for them? Is that why they were in there most of the time?
Yep. Get them the experience against the pass, because that's basically all they were going to do. And get them the pressure. They moved the ball on us a little bit. You know, in other words, we were backed up. We were not punting the ball well in the fourth quarter. They had the win. And so, you know, we were playing closer to our goal line, and there's a lot of different pressure down there. And we felt like those young guys back there really needed the pressure.
Okay, we'll move now to the fourth quarter. We'll have fourth quarter action right after this. The Northwestern band, some fans there, they were having a good time in the sunshine, despite the fact their football team behind by a score of 27-0. That's Schwab throwing to the outside to Edwards, which they did most of the day.
Good play by Madsen. Madsen was on a rush and came out and held that for a 2-yard gain. It was a little, what we call a slip screen. We were offside, so we'll set up 1st and 5 for Northwestern.
At the 41, Schwab going deep. I thought they had 6 points right there.
Well, he had the ball there, and you know, they ran a stop and go, which you know, we haven't seen much, and J.C. Pearson kind of just settled down on the stop, and then when they took off again, they got a jump on us.
You can't throw it any better than that.
But right on the numbers.
Absolutely right on the numbers. You think about that one. 2nd and 5 at the 41. Schwab rolling to the outside. Good rush.
Again, pressure by Lynn Madsen, and the problem there is that our outside containment is not there, and that, you know, Schwab got outside of that too much. Our defensive line had a great job, but you know, he gets outside again here. Billy McGill's putting pressure. We would have had more sacks. Would have done a little better job of containing.
We'll work on that this week.
Yes, with the quarterback can run, you know, you've got to be cautious of that.
4th and 5 at the 41. Kids punt. It's going to be fumbled back there by Miles. He finally gets a handle on it, but it's going to be inside the 10.
Well, Ron's a young player, first time in the game catching a punt, and probably a little bit nervous, but he should have caught it. You know.
And you tell him to let that go inside the 10?
Oh yeah, inside the 10 we don't want to catch it. Now if we had a rush on and the ball is way ahead of coverage, you know, sometimes we'll catch those. There's Steve Pelur's hit out of bounds, so we get a key 15-yard penalty there.
You'll see again, and just he runs out of bounds and gets pushed and knocked down, and just boom.
Yeah, and again, the sideline stops the play. It doesn't take a whistle, and those are, you know, coaches are driven to distraction by those kind of penalties.
Mike Vendovich, 4th tailback in the ball game, gains 5 on the play. So 2nd and 5 for Washington, the 32. Going in, did you figure you would play all your tailbacks?
Yes, we wanted to play all 3 fullbacks and all 4 tailbacks. As we mentioned during the week, that there's really there hadn't been a great deal of difference in the 4 in preparation. It was, you know, we had to come up with a substitution scheme.
Flip to the outside to Stransky for 3. I thought you had some motion on that.
It was close. It was close. But that was a good job of Dave Stransky in getting that first down.
1st and 10 at the 38. Vendovich for 2 up the middle.
Mike's really running hard. He gets up in there. It was a trap play, and you know, your backs have a tendency, they'll break more of those kind of plays if they run in there that hard over the long haul.
Threw it just a little bit too high, intended for Patterson on the sideline.
Well, Steve had the same problem that Schwab had all day long. He had a defender in his face, and it's just a little harder to throw.
Somebody had a hand up there right in front of him. You look at those different colored numbers, and it makes a difference. Tony Roten, a chance to catch it for a first down, and it just bounces off his hands.
Yeah, Tony did a good job blocking, and he can catch those passes. He just needs the experience.
Zimmerman, don't kick the ball. Out of bounds. Not a good kick. 11-yard kick. Now,
isn't that a good kick?
That's not a good kick. I just read it here. It says not a good kick. 11 yards.
Well, we've got to do a better job of punting. There's first pass, a tight end drag, and Jimmy Moore makes the tackle, as well as Ron Hadley.
So 2nd and 2 at the 43. Schwab to throw to the outside. It bounced.
Quick pass and skipped in there. You get more of those calls usually in front of your bench.
3rd and 2 at the 43.
This is a quick dive by the fullback, and Tony Lewis is right upfield. It just again, it's kind of like the play a little bit ago of Glenn Madsen. You know, Tony makes an inside charge, and he's just free to the ball carrier.
And then there's just nothing there.
And the rest of the guys come in and beat up the poor ball carrier.
Get off my back. It is 4th and 5. Schwab throwing incomplete for 12 yards to Coates.
He comes back and throws a very good route there. It's a turn-in route. Bestie Jackson, Fred Small make the play. We put number 1 linebackers back in now.
You don't want to get them on the scoreboard.
Well, you know, and the ones need this experience too. They were in a blitz man-to-man coverage, and Vince Albritton was pretty close to the receiver.
That was intended for Kaiser. 2nd and 10 at the 34. Goes to the outside.
Really hard hit. Again, the running back paid for that catch. 1-yard gain.
They dumped it off all day, just to the outside, get the ball to the running back.
And you see Joe Kelly coming in, and Fred Small. I think Lynn Matson hit Fred Small harder than hit the ball carrier. Those things happen.
Now, they had illegal motion there, so 3rd and 9. Schwab throwing and knocked away.
And this is why you play those plays. Now, we're in man again, and they go to a post route, which is probably the favorite route against man coverage. And it's great experience for a young cornerback to be in there and make this play and not, don't get the pass interference. It's a play that we're going to have to make to be able to have success this year.
Vesti Jackson with the play. Throwing again and incomplete on 4th and 9, and Washington will take over, leading 27-0. And watch this Husky offense begin to move. Here's Cookie Jackson for 2.
This is a toss sweep. We only get 2, but we had some pretty good hits on the play.
2nd and 8 at the 45. Intended for Walt Hunt and threw it behind him.
Threw it behind him, and Steve was trying to stick it between linebackers there. That doesn't help Walt any.
No, it certainly doesn't. 3rd and 8. Pallor looking, throwing over the middle. Great catch then by Larry Michael for 16.
Larry has got very good hands, and like I say, he's going to play a big role in our offense this year because of this ability to catch the ball. It's a good catch right in the middle.
Dorsey hits him right in the right spot, right on the hands.
Yeah, it always helps, makes it easier. But everything works: protection and routes, coverage, everything.
1st and 10 at the 49. Jock Robinson in a tailback, and the big guy just flies.
They're really, it's really good cut there, and it was, it's good to see a lineman Ted Brosey downfield blocking, and there were just a lot of good blocks here. Walt Hunt, Dennis Maher, Larry Michaels.
Now watch the hole open. Okay, now that's Brosey,
yeah, now
number
you see
64.
a guard just looking downfield. He didn't see any linebackers. He just goes down there and pokes at weak safety, and now they've got a sprinter, Lofton, that makes that tackle. He runs, I don't know, 10, 400 meters.
So Jock Robinson picks up 38 yards on the play. 1st and 10 at the 11. Walt Hunt gets his first touchdown, I think, as a Husky right there. Just a good one.
Sure, it's the first one, but it was a good one. It was a dive play that he just cut back. He did a good job of option running. By option running, just coming back against the grain. Good block right there by Brosey.
Brosey again, yeah. He takes on a man at the goal line.
Dotson did a good job of cutting off his tackle. That hole actually went between Dotson and Brosey.
So Walt Hunt, whose grandfather played right at Northwestern. He was happy to get in the end zone, not the grandfather, but the grandson. He scores. Washington wins it by a score of 34-0. Pretty good football game. Do you feel good about that?
Well, from our standpoint, we had a lot of things to be happy with. Just a good, solid performance. I think as you break down the units, the offense played well, defense. A good portion of our kicking game, I think, was solid. I think the key thing is we need to work more with our punting game.
And no question about that. Yeah. Smiles on the faces, though. Your players walked away saying, I think we've proven something. There were a lot of question marks going into that game. People saying we don't have a feel for the game. We're not sure. Chicago Tribune, where they turned around, picked Northwestern by 1 in the morning line of the ball game. And I think your players really want to go out and prove something.
Well, it's a different team. It's a different year, and I think each team takes on a personality, and this one certainly is going to take on their own and play up to their own image. We're not sure how good we can become. This, as you mentioned, was a good start. I think we can build on this. I think we also will recognize immediately that the quality of the opponents are really going to be upgraded in the next couple of weeks.
Now, what in the world the players have to say about all this? Well, you get a chance to listen to them right after this. This fall, we go in the locker room, talk to the players, and get their reaction as to what happened during the ball game. This is what in the world they had to say about the 34-0 win over Northwestern.
Well, I felt pretty good. I thought, our first two drives, we moved the ball pretty well, and I think our defense played outstanding, especially against such a great passing team as Northwestern. I thought our defensive backs did an excellent job, and, I think we could tell it was the first game, though. I think, there was a lot of rusty plays out there, but I thought overall it was a good win for us and gained some confidence from it.
Yeah, it was really great. I really wanted to score today, and our linemen were opening up a lot of big holes, and I just wanted to get upfield as hard as I could.
The passing game really helped the running game a lot. When Steve was on, it really helped the running game a lot.
I was nervous, but after that kick, it went great. So after that, I was all right.
You missed the first one, though. Did you begin to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe it's not going to be my day?
That made the next field goal. That made that a little tough. But after I got that through, the third field goal was no sweat.
We knew pretty much what they were going to do. We wanted to prove that we could play, and they're a good team. And we just got on them early, and we kept after them. And I think the heat hurt them as much as it did us today.
Yeah, I feel our defensive line and our defensive group as a unit really got after him. We didn't allow them a lot of time to find his receivers downfield, and I thought that was key to contain them first and then get the pressure to him second. What wind up that we got the pressure and contained them, so I guess he came out overall on top.
We prepared well for them. They were supposed to throw a lot, and so we concentrated especially on passing defense this week, and we came up to the task, I think.
Oh, Robert Leapart, I'll tell you, a lot of people are going to agree with you. Do you see all that perspiration down there? Unbelievable how warm it was in the locker room. If you think it was warm on the field, in the locker room following the football game. But the Huskies win it by a score of 34-0. Next week, they play Michigan here. We'll talk about that football game coming up with Don James and get an injury report and talk about what happened after the game against Northwestern right after this. You in that football game, beating Northwestern 34-0. You had to feel good about it because really it was a good trip, good experience for your players to open on the road in that kind of a situation around the Big Ten.
Oh, everybody would like to open at home, and you'd like to go into a game where you feel like you've got your home fans and you're maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns favorites. You can feel pretty good about a win, but I think taking a young team on the road, playing in heat, you know, who knows how good we are, how good Northwestern is, but I just think it was a good experience for us.
What about injuries now? What happened there? Do you have anybody that got banged up that may miss the Michigan game coming up?
Well, let's start on a positive note. Rick Finney will be ready to come back, so we'll get a fullback.
I was going to ask you about that.
So, you know, we'll get a running back back. Leroy Lutu missed a lot of work last week, and he's kind of got a knee that's a little sore, and it's sore again. So how much work he'll get will depend on whether or not he'll play this week. Rick Mallory came out of the game with a slight ankle pull and or sprain, and he'll miss some work. And these kinds of things, you know, on Sunday you just never know how they're going to respond. But I would say that, but basically we should get, you know, we have a good chance to having all players back that played in this ball game.
Now, coming up this week, you play Michigan. The Wolverines come to town for the first time since 1970. The last 2 times you play them, as everybody knows, in the Rose Bowl, you're 1-1 there. Washington State almost defeats Michigan. They miss field goal, have a chance to tie them late in the ball game. They lose by a score of 20-17 in Ann Arbor. Now, what do you know about Michigan and playing against their type of team? And how good is Michigan this year? Are the Cougars really that good?
Well, I think, you know, let's first talk about Michigan. You know, they're good. They're always going to be good. You know, they do a great job. They get top kids. They've got one of the premier coaches in the country, and I think, you know, when you talk about, you know, the dean of the coaches and now in our profession, you know, Bo's the president of our association, he just does an excellent job. Now, he's got a new quarterback, he's got new running backs, he lost Carter, and so, you know, they're replacing good athletes though with good ones. I hope they don't get ready to play real good for another 3 or 4 weeks, but you know, they'll be just fine. I think again at you know, Washington State, they certainly proved that they could play against us last year, and if they can keep their players healthy, I think they'll also prove this year they'll play against anybody they go up against.
Team has to begin to get excited to play someone like a Michigan because you're moving up in class. You know, at least one poll picked him to be #1 in the country.
Well, any team that has the marvelous tradition that they have, you know, the years and years of success, the great teams, you know, that's kind of what it's about. Everybody says, you know, getting an opportunity to play the very best, and they're on our schedule next week.
Do you think your team's going to be ready? Play a team like that?
Well, we'll be excited about the game. You know, who knows, you know, how we're going to play. I think, you know, they'll respect us. I think they'll come to play.
It should be quite a week. Washington against Michigan. We hope you've enjoyed today's show. For Don James, I'm Bruce King. Tune in next week for more Husky football.
Husky football has been brought to you by Seattle First National Bank. To make banking easier, see First.